Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now this is the long-awaited, I've been promising it for ages, the P6 versus P8 versus P10 video. Obviously we've done the 1, 2 and the 3, and I did a short one which is P3 versus P6, so you can refer back to those if you want to find out the difference between them and the difference between the P3 to P6, which I'll just briefly run through. P6 looks like a P3, but it's got the ultra lightweight plinth because the 6 is the first of the ultra lightweight series Rega turntables. Before this, they're sort of MDF with laminate, or I can't think whether they are laminate now, but basically MDF plinths, which are fairly heavy. The 6 is ultra lightweight plinth. I mean, there's no way you could do that with a P3. This is a fraction of the weight, and it also comes with a metal hull. Same tone arm as a 3, same glass platter as a 3, except this is a twin layer. I should probably clean that. It's a twin layer. It's 2 pieces of glass bonded together and heavy around the outside to give a much better flywheel effect. 6 comes with a standard lid, so it's the big. Again, I should have had one just to show it. I'll pretend. If you imagine a normal square lid, just lifts up. An unsprung hinge, so there's very little sort of interaction between lid and turntable. It's quite very well isolated. So sort of the 6 has a tinted version of the standard Rega lid, not the clear one that they use on all the other decks below the 6. Cartridge wise, you can have it without cartridge or with, like here we've got the Exact, which is sort of a favourite. That works brilliantly on it. You've got a 3-point mount. Also actually quite like on the 6, Audio Technica's new range, the VM range, the EN or the ML, not so much the Shibata tip, the SH, I think it's a bit bright really. Also the 740 series as well in these, the 740 ML sounds superb in a P6. And again, Nagokas, like with the 3s really, the Nagoka series, work really well in them. Not that keen on the Autophon 2M series in Regas. I think it sound a bit flat somehow, a bit bland. Obviously work in other turntables, but just doesn't seem to always quite work that well with the Regas. You can opt for this with an Anya, which I've got to have somewhere. Which again, 3-point mount. This is what they call them, sort of open-bodied sort of cartridge. So the stylus looks very vulnerable on it, but it's actually protected by this little lug on here. I've got a little stylus protector. Yeah, 3-point mount. They do a package with the package with Exact or a package with Anya. Pretty sure they do Anya Pro now, which is an Anya with, I think, an Afita 2 tip on it, which is really good actually, a really good cartridge. That's probably as far as you would go with the 6 actually, because then you start to come into the sort of area of how much the tone arm can do. But a nice sort of mix is probably P6 with Anya. That does work really well. Probably sort of a favourite combination, that really. So after this we go on to the P8. Now the P8 actually, in a lot of respects, is very similar to the 6. There's probably more. An 8 and 6 have probably got more in common with each other. We're still on the very lightweight plinth, but it's cut down to such a degree. I mean, this again it's weight reduction. Same hub, but now we've got the twin pulley. Whereas on the 6 we're just single pulley, single belt. This is the older belt. The new ones will have the new EBLT belts on them, which are black. Yeah, twin pulley on here. So the 2 belt idea, it's any inconsistency in the belt is evened out, is the theory. And it does seem to work. There's quite a few turntables have done it in the past, and it does seem to help pitch stability, but also gives it a bit more torque. Because I don't know if you noticed, but the actual platter on this is tremendous. This is a triple layer, so it's like a P6 platter with an even heavier layer around the outside, and it's actually quite difficult to hold. Didn't talk about the P6 bracing, but basically you've got your ultra lightweight plinth with a brace. Again, even more ultra light plinth than a P8 with the same brace, top and bottom. So it's the crucial part between bearing and tone arm is braced. So that's the part you want to be as rigid as possible. from these sort of areas aren't quite as crucial, but between here and here is absolutely crucial. Back on again. Standard felt mat. No, you see all sorts of forums about mats. The felt mat is sonically has always been the best mat for a turntable, really. Most turntables. I think there's only Nottingham Analog who make their own mats out of a sort of a composite material, which seems to work really well. But with the Rega, if you find that as you lift the record off, it's taking the mat with it, you're probably cleaning your records too much, or it may be a carpet or humidity situation. But generally, if you're the sort of person who cleans a record before you use it, cleans a record after you use it with a carbon fibre brush, you're probably causing the issue. Generally cleaning as little as you can, really, or get yourself a record cleaning machine, which are expensive but kind of solves it straight away. Back to the P8. Also, we've now upgraded. The tone arm is now the RB880, so we're much better bearings. Looks very similar. To be honest, you wouldn't, if it wasn't sort of labelled up, you wouldn't know. But yeah, much higher level tone arm on that, so you can. These will come without cartridge, or with a feater, a standard, or with Anya again. But the tone arm on this will take in a feater, and it sounds amazing with a feater in it. Actually, the feater 3 is actually absolutely astonishing in a P8. That's P6 versus P8. Now, what I'll do is I should pause for a second and go and bring the P10 up, swap it for the 6, so we can look between the 10 and the 8. Right, so now we have the Planar 10. First thing you'll notice here is we've got the white platter, which is a ceramic platter. White matte because it complements it, I suppose. The ceramic is a much harder material. This is very dense and a very expensive component. Actually, a lot of the price of the turntable is down to the platter, and it's very, very difficult to machine. And this is an extremely accurate component, really. I mean, it's all machined inside. It's all sort of beveled in, and it's quite heavy to manipulate. So again, we've got a much heavier flywheel. Very, very dense, so this is all to do with resonance and sort of, again, noise pickup. Same hub and twin belt motor. We're now onto ceramic bracing, so we've got more rigidity there. Again, less noise transmission. Same plinth, but aided by this component here. Put that back on before I drop it. RB3000 tone arm. Now this tone arm on its own, this is by far the best tone arm they've ever made. I mean, it's a big, not just the current models like the 880. It's substantially better than anything they've done before. And I fitted these to other turntables, and it's just a superb tone arm. It's very difficult to come up with anything that's quite as good, to be honest, without spending stupid money. So yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful. I'll put up a close-up picture of this, but it's a beautifully machined piece of equipment. If you look at all that sort of everything on here, and the sort of all the engineering in here, it's just. I actually did have a guy who bought one purely on the look of all the engineering around here. I mean, it's a completely bonkers thing to do, but he just fell in love with it. I think. So, which you can understand. It does look absolutely superb. But yeah, I mean, of course, it's any cartridge you ever want to fit. I've run things like Kiseki Purple Hearts and things like that cartridges on these, and they just really sound fantastic with anything, because it's such a rigid base for the cartridge. The whole thing with the cartridge is to keep it as rigid as possible, because it needs any energy that is lost from its sort of the tip vibrates to create the sound. If there's any of that vibration is lost, or some of it is lost and some accentuated because the tone arm isn't rigid, you'll not get the full performance of your cartridge. So this is a perfect platform for pretty much any cartridge, really. So a lot of the cost goes into that. A lot of the cost is in the ceramic platter. You also get the sort of ultimate version of the power supply. This is purely for the P10. It's a shame they don't offer this as an upgrade for an 8, I think, in some ways. Because again, this is to do with getting the perfect waveform for the motor, so it's as low a noise as possible, but with extra torque, because you need torque, but generally torque will create noise. So if you can create a power supply like this, can actually give you both, because it creates its own waveform, keeps all the noise out of the equation, and allows the motor to, well, allows the deck to have more torque to keep up. You're not going to get this effect of to the same degree of the platter slowing if there's a big crescendo, because the actual even the tiny, what you would have thought is tiny friction from the stylus on the vinyl, it does actually slow down if there's sort of, like I say, crescendos or a very strong drum beat. It will actually so very fractionally slow, and it just makes the music less interesting. Like I say, it's all to do with the musicality, so it needs to be as rigid as possible, as little noise coming through, and as stable a pitch as you can possibly make. And that's why the P10 is very difficult to beat. I mean, there are turntables that sort of beat it in certain respects. Most of them are more expensive, or a lot more expensive. I can't think of that many that beat it in every respect. It's quite an astonishing feat of engineering, really. Available again without cartridge. Tend to sell them within a feet of 3. This is actually, if you've got eagle eyes, this is an a feet of 2, which I'm not quite sure how it ended up back in there, to be honest, but we did have an a feet of 3 in there. Also available with the Athlon, which is that Rega's high-end cartridge. Like I say, I've listened to these with the Kiseki cartridges, with Autophone Cadenza. Works fantastic with everything. It just seems to, whatever cartridge you like, it'll always sound amazing in that tone. It just seems to match anything. Yeah, probably favourite would be a Kiseki Purple Heart in here. I think really she's look up to like a £2,500 cartridge, but it's more than catered for in the engineering and the sort of whole setup of the turntable. So that's that. Last thing to show, the much hated but actually very clever lid. Both the 8 and the 10 come with this cover. They don't have a conventional lift lid like the 1, 2, 3 and 6. That's what I'm doing. It's a little hole down the back. Just drop that on. And there's your lid. It's very effective, actually. I mean, the idea of it is that when you're not using it, you cover it. When you're using it, you just lift off, which a lot of owners do with the 1, 2s and 3s anyway. So it's, but people don't like the fact it's so different. But it's actually that design. It's been around for a long time. It's not a Rega design particularly. John Michel came up with this one years and years ago. There's a sort of universal cover called a Unicover that they make, which is basically this but without the location point. And people have been using that in preference to hinged lids for years. So it's not Rega being awkward. It's Rega being quite clever, I think. Really, it's because really a standard square lift over lid on this would look really strange. They tried to achieve that with the previous range, the RP series, like the RP6, RP8, or the RP8, RP10, which had basically a sort of cut down centre portion, but with an outer plinth, which had the lid, which you could take off if you didn't want. So you either had a big plinth with the deck sat inside it with a lid, or you didn't have that and you didn't have a lid. Whereas this is a good compromise, I think. Really, it's quite a good looking compromise. So there you go. That's the 6, the 8 and the 10. If you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call. If you want to have a listen to any of these decks, just ring up and organise a demonstration. I'll put our phone number and email at the end along the bottom. Thanks very much. If you liked what you've seen, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe. And see you soon.